Greetings, traveler.
Hello everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at all the new Naga and Dragon reveals. First, we're going to look at all the cards that have been removed. We no longer have Orgozoa, Snail, Slither Spear, Shellwhisser, Siren, Crooner, ixxdeee, and Reef Riffer. Now, we will see that there are obviously some replacements that will fill a similar role, but we also have some cool new concepts, which are tons of fun. Out of these, I will probably miss Shellwhisser quite a bit, just because that was so much fun to play early and get a strike oil. But also just in general, just a really fun unit. Slither Spear never really caught on. Orgozoa was sort of a fun little triple for economy. I suppose another iconic one here is Crooner, right? No more Zeddy Crooner scaling, but let's get into all the new options we have for Nagas now. This is an Arcane Cannoneer. Whenever it attacks, it deals 1 damage to the target. What this already does is pings off a Divine Shield before it then connects. That is very useful in the late game. If you have a minion that essentially does not get hindered by Divine Shield, it'll always ping first and then kill the target. It's also nice to ping something like a Spore or even a Belcher, something venomous. Wouldn't work on Leroy, because if you ping the Leroy, you're technically killing it, so then, you know, the card will still have its effect. But just, you know, it seems like a fun card to buff, because it also says it is improved by every 4 spells you've cast this game, which means that it'll deal 1, and then it'll deal 2, and then it'll 3. Actually, I'm not even sure if it scales up like that so slowly, or if it scales up faster, but usually if it says improved, it'll just get, you know, from 1 to 2 to 3, etc. Now, spells are blood gems, spells are coins, so it is quite a bit easier to cast spells than it looks like, because you can do spellcrafts, blood gems, coins, and all that, you know, play a Shell Collector with a brand, there you go, tons of spells. So this can stack a lot faster than you might initially think. Dark Crest Strategist, the spellcraft gives you a random tier 1 Naga, and then it upgrades every turn. So assuming that you have this unit on your board, you will get a spellcraft, and then it gives you a tier 1 Naga. Now, if you choose to keep this unit on the board, I'm assuming that the next spellcraft you get is then tier 2. I don't think you have to keep the card in your hand or anything like that, because it's a spellcraft. It should be discarding at the end of the turn. So there's just no option to hold the spellcraft. So the only other explanation is that as long as you keep the minion on your board, the effect is upgrading. So that if you keep it for a few turns, suddenly you're getting 5 drops, 6 drops. That is relevant. So it seems like a really fun card to triple into early, and quite difficult to use in the late game. However, using it as a just spell generator is probably also still fine, because you're going to buy it for 3 gold, but then the initial body sells back for 1 gold, and then whatever Naga you discover also sells back for 1 gold. So you're really only paying 1 gold to then get a 1-drop, which can then probably also give you another spellcraft, so you know, you can farm some spells that way. Groundbreaker is the new tier 6 Naga. After you play a Naga, gain +1/+1, improved by every 4 spells you've cast this game. This looks kind of crazy, where it can scale so fast, because we have just covered all the ways in which you can spam spells. With a brand on your board, nothing's impossible. You play Brand, you play Rodeo, you play Geomancer, you play Shell Collector, all those battle cries are like spell, 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 spell. And then it's not so hard to generate Nagas a lot of the time, because you can get them from spellcrafts like we just covered. You can get the, what's her name again, the Dark Crest Strategist. You can use that to then get an additional Naga, but then you're getting a Naga from the Dark Crest, and then you're getting a Naga from the Spellcraft. So yeah, this looks cool, to say the least. Because it says improved by every 4 spells you've cast this game. It doesn't say while this was on your board. If you've already played a big number of spells before you roll this card is already scaling more. Unless I'm just fundamentally misunderstanding the card, but I don't think so. So yeah, looks really cool. Ominous Seer is a demon Naga. So dual tribe, battle cry, the next tavern spell you buy costs 1 less. We love that. The early game is all about money. You just want your cards to give you additional money, because if you have more money, you can buy more cards, and generally speaking, more cards is just better than having a stronger card, but only one of them. So this is generally how I play the early game, and I think most people should. You just look for cards that give you economy, something like a Scout, something like a Shell Collector, and now Ominous Seer helps out with that too, because then you can buy a spell, say like Careful Investment. You have more money, you get to buy more stuff. It's a good time overall. So yeah, this looks like a good minion to buy. Showy Cyclist. Death Rattle, give your Nagas +1/+1, improved by every 4 spells you've cast this game. Similar to the 6-drop, this is also going to already be good if you've already cast a lot of spells and then you roll into this. You can use this in combination with Titus or maybe Macaw. Again, when I'm talking about these cards, I'm not 100% sure if all of them are staying in. Maybe the Macaw is out in the end. But even then, you can still, you know, I don't think Titus is going to leave, so then you have Titus with this thing, and you can have it golden, you can have multiples of them. I'm not even sure if that's going to be a build, Death Rattle Nagas, but it could be. I think the 6-drop Groundbreaker is likely going to just be more what you're aiming for, because this is permanent scaling, whereas this is just pure tempo. But it might be okay, and who knows, maybe the card, I'm underestimating it a little bit right now, and just having a bunch of cyclists on the board, taunted, golden, and all that is going to be powerful. Thaumaturgist. Spellcraft, give a minion +1/+1 until next turn. So this seems to be the replacement for Refriffer, but this upgrades for every 4 spells you've cast this game. So its own spellcraft will contribute to that because it is a spell. So it slowly upgrades itself. So this is quite a bit worse than a Refriffer when you roll it at the beginning, but it is a 3/3, so that does help out quite a bit. But the buff is worse, right? So if we're talking about Lava Lurker or any, you know, buffing a Divine Shield, you're only giving it 1/1. But if you've had a good start, let's say you started with an Angler on your board to get an additional spellcraft, or you roll 2 of these in the shop, then all of a sudden you're casting way more spells way faster, and then this is going to be a lot more interesting. Savjz is back. Spellcraft, discover a tavern spell. That's just a really fun card to have. I love cards that make more things, because that just gives you the opportunity to have these amazing turns where you just keep going, and the limiting factor is the time, not the money. Those are my favorite turns. You just pop, 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 go, 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 go. So having a golden Savjz, having 2 Savjz on your board, super fun. And we've already seen that there is so much spell synergy, which is really the Naga thing, that, you know, Savjz seems to be a premium, if not the premium triple you're hoping for in the early game. Then we're going to have a look at dragons. Disco Shuffler, Amber Guardian, Hate Spawn, Glim Guardian, Twilight Emissary, Gargoyle, Yulon, and Roaring Rallier have been removed. That's quite a bit of an identity shift, because Yulon make permanent Goldens, Amber Guardian make permanent shields, and then, you know, Roaring Rallier with that early attack. That's definitely what dragons were doing. Disco Shuffler is sort of, I'm out, but that's fine. It just broke the game with Zephrys a while back, but we have just seen the Buddy spell being removed, so that is no longer a big concern. So other than that, nothing too crazy, right? Just that identity shift away from the perma golden, the perma shield, etc. We have Efficient Engineer. Its battle cry is to trigger a friendly minion's end of turn, except Young Murkai. They didn't used to do this, right? They didn't used to add this little bit of extra text. I always say that Hearthstone is not trying to be Yu-Gi-Oh! So for those of you who have never played Yu-Gi-Oh!, some of those cards are just like, how much text can we fit, just ram on this card? What if we use a smaller font, just like squeeze it in there? Because some Yu-Gi-Oh cards are, you have to really take a while to look at it. So what does this card do? There's a lot on here. And, you know, Battlegrounds is not that. They do not want you to have to study the cards. So they've been very careful to not add these little, I would say, exceptions to the rule, right? A lot of cards have just been like, hey, if it doesn't work, then we're just not going to have it. However, here, they probably play tested this and was like, okay, this is busted with Murkai. Because let's say you have Murkai and then you have like Gem Smuggler next to Murkai, and you can just have a Bran and then you trigger a golden Murkai with this. Oh, it also triggers itself, doesn't it? Yeah. It's an infinite loop. I just realized, because you would have this next to Young Murkai, and then you would have another beneficial battle cry, and then you would just play another engineer, trigger the Murkai, and then it would just trigger the engineer, which would then trigger the Murkai. But it's probably also just too powerful if you put it on Murkai, because that is pretty much the premium end of turn effect, right? Especially if it's amplified by Bran, amplified by Drakari, ludicrous. But yes, it would be an infinite loop, so yeah, you can't have that. Looks like a fun card, honestly. This might be, yeah, we're gonna have to see just how much end of turn is in the game by the end of all the reveals, but especially because it's a battle cry, so it can be amplified by Bran. And then Drukhari says increase the end of turn. So I'm assuming that if you trigger it and Drukhari is on the board, it is going to count. You can get tons of leverage on this thing where it's not just, oh, look, I trigger my end of turn. It's like, no, I trigger it many times due to all those multipliers. Then we have a new 3-drop Reverber Drake. Battlecry, cast an echoing roar on a friendly dragon. Oh, that's fun. Wow, that seems like fun. And then it has tons of end of turn synergy. Right. End of turn effects. Oh, bro. Yeah, dude. This next to Murkai, or just like Bran with this thing and trigger, and then you have a lot of roars on something, and then you play the engineer, and then it triggers all the roars. Huh, okay, yeah. I see some cool stuff already. But this is just like a fun card, because Echoing Roar is a fun spell, but it costs 3 gold. 3 gold is a lot. It's hard to play. Now, you pay 3 gold, but you also get a body back that you can then sell for 1 gold. So effectively, you're now only paying 2 gold for the Roar, which is great. Back when Roar was 2 gold, it was too strong. That's why they nerfed it to 3 gold. So this now makes Roar really good again, but the catch is that you can only put it on dragons, which I think is fair, right? If this thing was cast Roar on anything, it would be way too strong. Still looks like a really fun card to play. I'll definitely experiment lots with this. Synthesizer was reworked. It's now a battle cry and start of combat, but it is a 2-drop and it's only +1/+1. Seems like a really good start to build your dragon base. Because if you have 2 of these on the board and then you roll into Poet, suddenly you already have a big reason to buy the Poet. Whereas sometimes when you're playing dragons, you can buy the Poet, but you don't really have the promo Drake yet. So it's like, you know, it's basically just a 2/3 Divine Shield. It's not doing anything else right now. Now you can get a mini promo Drake on your board in the beginning. That's really what it is, right? It's also Veiled Alexstrasza Buddy. This is like a mini Veil. So yeah, looks good. Yeah, definitely. If you could pick up a pair of these early, that seems really nice. Kalecgos! It's now +1/+2! Wow, we finally went ahead and did it, huh? You know, Kali was absolutely premium scaling for a very long time, and then power creep happened, and then poor Kali was just pretty much never being played. Although I will say that I do still play some Kali from time to time, but it's pretty much always when I'm able to cheese a Golden Brand. Because when you have Golden Brand, you're triggering a whole lot of battle cries, and that +1/+1 is more than fine when you have a Golden Brand. Now that we have +1/+2, that is going to make Kali a lot easier to pick up, and then if you also have a Golden Brand, it's going to be pretty silly. So yeah, I think that's fine. You know, worst case, you know, this is busted, and then they nerf it again, or it doesn't do much, and they have to make it +2/+2. We'll see. It's hard to call that when you haven't really played the meta yet, and there's so many cards changing, moving, trinkets are gone and all that. But yeah, I like it. I like that they're trying this because this seems like a very easy thing where they can nerf it if they overbuffed it or buff it a bit more if it's still not great. Nadina is back, right? So Nadina was nerfed a while ago. Nadina used to shield all your dragons, and it was so good because you would just put one Nadina on the board and then like 2 or 3 of your dragon shields, and then put another Nadina on the board and then reshield all your dragons. Oh man, that was so powerful. So they nerfed that. This is now only 3 dragons get divine shields, but that's still good because we did not see Poet being removed. Double checking here. No Poet, right? So this is a very easy way to give divine shield to your dragons permanently. And it's still powerful in the endgame where you can use this to divine shield a Warpwing or just any huge attack dragon that you have. So really good card. Definitely hurt dragons a lot when they removed this. Netherdrake has been reworked. It is now a 5-drop. It starts out as a 4/12 and it upgrades end of turn. I'm assuming that if you trigger this with the battle cry trigger end of turn, that you would also get the upgrade, because the upgrade is tied to the end of turn effect. If you can trigger the Netherdrake a bunch of times, now all of a sudden at the end of turn, it's giving 7 attack or 9 attack or 15 attack. And then with a Drukhari, then that starts adding up quickly. Seems like an archetype in the making here. End of turn, Giga attack dragons, and then given Divine Shield with Nadina. Interesting, for sure. Yeah. We'll have to explore this. Smolder is back, which is another fun end of turn effect. Just a really good triple early. If you can triple into this on, say, turn 4, or I guess turn 4 you have to really high roll, right? But like turn 5 you can triple into this. It's pretty damn good. You can put the Smolder Wings on the board, and then the Smolder Wings will triple as well. And especially if you triple into it early, you have the board space, So it's not even that big of an inconvenience to keep a 2-1 on the board. You can hold the other one in your hand if you really don't have the space. And then the turn after that, they will combine into a triple. You level, you play it, you get a 5-drop or a 6-drop. Just a really good card to get early. And then on top of that, it's just a fun card to triple, have on your board, and use it to fuel your Caligos or, you know, buff your Warping with extra damage and all that. Just a good card. Nice card. Razorgore is back with +1/+2. I do believe that was the case last time. Yeah, it's just one of those end of turn dragons that is generally not that exciting, but if we have Golden Razorgore, and again we are using the Battle Cry, trigger end of turn, and we have a Drukhari on the board and a Bran, suddenly that's a big Razorgore. Now, of course, if you are running like Drukhari and Bran, then you don't have that many dragons on your board, so the Razorgore isn't being buffed as much. But especially if you put some, yeah, we can already see some strategies, right? You put the Reverb Drake with a Bran on your Razorgore, and wait, and this is the trigger guy, right? Yeah, and then you roll an Engineer, you trigger a Golden Razorgore that has, let's say, 4 roars on it. That's another +8/+8, plus whatever the Razorgore has, plus the Drukhari ×2, plus the Bran ×2 again. Whoa, we're getting big. So yeah, you can actually make quite a large dragon like this. Interesting. All right. Okay, so Battle Cry dragons trigger end of turn stuff. Very interesting. Then we have Nightbane. Say it ain't so. Oh, I hate this card. I really, really hope that they removed Kel'Thuzad. I'm gonna be a bit annoyed if Kel'Thuzad is still in, because Nightbane KT dominated an entire meta, because pretty much all you had to do was make a big Nightbane, put it next to Kel'Thuzad. Oh, my board has infinite damage, how cool. Especially if you could have 2 Nightbanes on the board, then one Nightbane will buff the other Nightbane, and then you'd move that one next to the KT, and just silly, 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 silly. So I'm assuming Kel'Thuzad is out, because otherwise I'd be very confused as to why did we, you know, put this through that again, because that combo was just so good. You would, anytime you're in an undead lobby, it was just a matter of not if I'm going to play it, but when I'm going to play it. You would just pick up a Nightbane guaranteed because of the potential with Kel'Thuzad. Now, without Kel'Thuzad, this is still a very powerful card. It gives you the attack on 2 random minions. The regular version isn't just like give it to 1. The regular version is already 2 random minions. So it's just very easy to make a huge Nightbane and then let that damage jump to other things. And it's just very good at not losing fights. You get a lot of ties with Nightbane because you have a lot of damage on your board. And then if you have a lot of damage, you can likely kill the enemy units, but you're not buffing your health, so they kill your unit too. And Nightbane is just very good at saving you health. So yeah, it still seems like a really top tier minion to buy, even if we hopefully don't have Kel'Thuzad anymore. All right, guys, and that's it for the dragon reveals and the Naga reveals. I hope you guys are excited for this. Make sure to tune in. We have new reveals for you. We'll put the reveal schedule in the comments, but it's also on the website if you go to play Hearthstone. Yeah, so keep tuning in. Hope you guys enjoy it, and see you next time.